It's time for My Hero Academia Chapter 413, Lump of Lead. But I absolutely need you all to hear Horikoshi's author comment for this week. I could not believe it. I took a bath and was surprised to find a Deku slipping up my butt. Nobody told me he was in the bath bomb. He was warm, end quote. Yeah, the chapter begins with All Might's vestige. We get to see exactly what Star and Stripe showed him last time, and it is a flashback to New Order's final moments. Thanks to her final command, it's fighting against all the quirks inside All For One, trying to wreck the Demon King's power and all the component bits inside. We see her facing off with the old man's vestige, still embedded within the quirk, as New Order starts tearing into the quirk proper. It is a bleak world within the power, an expanse of darkness and endless grasping hands. But as she starts to decay, Star notices something. Something is hidden within the darkness. Even as her eye continues to decay, she still continues staring at this discovery. And it is what she is trying to tell All Might and the other vestiges. Star points to a patch of darkness within the shadowy city that makes up All For One. All the others can see is a crack, but Star is positive. There really is a little boy in there, hidden away. Tenko Shimura really does still exist. They just have to find a way to reach that kid buried in the heart of All For One. The real All Might wakes up, shocked. He received her message through his One For All connection, but he's still stuck on the rooftop and heavily wounded from his fight against All For One. Headshot is right there with him, nervous about the risk of All Might dying if he falls asleep. The little hero tries to insist things are not over yet, telling All Might that it is clear Deku is still fighting. With his young disciple still standing, can the former symbol of peace do any less? All Might can barely hear Edgeshot. He's still worried about the vision. He'd like to write it off as a dream, but the feeling was special. It's just like the connection he felt at Deku's bedside while Deku was in a meeting with the vestiges. But it's not clear how that could happen. Deku is so far away now that All Might can't see the fight, but he can feel the will of the past wielders flowing through him, and that's the problem. For the feeling to reach him here, there's gotta be some kind of division. All Might looks over the clouds and rubble, trying to process what he's worked out. The power of One For All, honed across generations, is starting to fray. With it no longer intact, can the power still hold in any form? Or will it all start to fade away, bit by bit just drifting off into the air? Back in the fight, we get an unexpected character moment. Shigaraki pushes through the clouds, launching Deku far away with an air blast. But he doesn't pursue his target. There's no instinct to follow up his attack and destroy his foe. Just for a moment, Shigaraki had Star and Stripe return to his mind. He's not sure why that happened. He just stands there trying to work it out. He was sure Star had been completely extinguished. He got rid of the last trace of New Order, right? What could make him think of her again? And while he tries to work that out, he remembers Star's last words about heroes being able to pass on their wills. And this has to be it. His best guess is that this thought of Star is an ember, a little bit of that passion still burning. Even after her death, Star is not totally gone, still trying to beat the plot device allegations. Some part of her inherited will is active right here and now. Deku, meanwhile, is still feeling the impact of that massive air blast. He hits the ground, hard. He's gasping for air, not even able to pull himself up just yet. As bad as the pain might be, trying to process losing One For All makes it worse. He can still hear All Might telling him that he can be a hero. That path is slipping away. Deku tries to talk to the vestiges about their pain, asking the second what he means. Kudo manifests again, trying to get Deku to stay calm. If he's too loud, Shigaraki will hear him after all. If this plan is going to work, they can't let the villain know what they're thinking. That crazy mess of vestiges and emotions inside Shigaraki is like a lump of lead. It's built of all his anger, his frustration, and all those traumatic memories he claims don't matter to him anymore. A whole city, a world, centered around that house and everything that happened there. Add on All For One, a vaguely sentient mass of evil and angry quirk factors, and you've got something that goes beyond any mental wall. The result is the Shigaraki they've been fighting this time. A demon, a creature of pure hatred and willpower. But thanks to Star, All Might's vestige noticed a crack inside the mass of darkness. Shigaraki isn't at peace with his past. The perfect supervillain, all that anger and that cold smile, is a mask. Tenko Shimura is on the other side. They just have to break that mental wall down. Kudo thinks that back during the battle with Star, there was a wound opened inside Shigaraki's mind. That's where the crack came from, and that's not something that any of All For One's quirks can heal. Deku doesn't get how any of this relates to giving up One For All. Kudo explains that even if they can't deal with Shigaraki head on due to his overwhelming powers, they can still undo him mentally. They can use the transfer to go after that mental wound. If One For All enters Shigaraki, that crack could increase until it breaks, allowing them to reach Tenko. It's everything Deku wanted. But he's not sure if that's right, and isn't convinced that this would work. It's a massive gamble, since by doing this, they need to straight up make Shigaraki stronger. They're going to lose whatever chance they had at taking down Tomura just for a chance to try Deku's way of doing this. Kudo's still hopeful that this is a viable idea. It's not as simple as just giving Shigaraki everything. Like with New Order, this can be more of an offensive plan. They just need to think about the idea of transferring differently. Kudo suggests the others try to think of it like Bakugo transferring papers to Deku by throwing them at him. That's still an attack. This is their way to destroy All For One. They could even do some physical damage to Shigaraki, trying to make sure he doesn't just destroy Japan while they're in the middle of this plan. And if they put enough force into the transfer, they could damage the quirks they're transferring, making sure Shigaraki can't use them. Trying to prove his point, Kudo plans to go first. They've already lost Danger Sense, and that's actually helpful. They don't have to just transfer One For All in one go. Instead, they've got one shot for each quirk. If they do it intentionally this time, they can make the crack get bigger bit by bit. Deku will keep the enhanced strength of One For All, just losing the additional quirks, and argues that he should go instead. He insists that Smokescreen is the most useless quirk in this situation. Search makes it even worse. He's the only part of One For All Deku can really afford to lose. Kudo still says no. And although I'd agree that Smokescreen isn't the best, Shigaraki having that while Deku is missing Danger Sense sounds like a death sentence. Outside, Shigaraki has reached Deku. He just glares down at the hero. One For All's vestiges are out of time to work this out, but En hasn't given up his argument. They're all completely screwed if Shigaraki uses Gear Shift. All his powers and that heightened speed? There's no way Deku could survive that. But no, Kudo has thought ahead. All For One doesn't just copy quirks, it transfers them. That means the limits on Gear Shift should still be in place. Deku has already run through its safe uses for the day. If Shigaraki tries to use it again, he'll be hit with the recoil effect, even worse than before. And without Gear Shift in his body, Deku will stop suffering the effects of the recoil. Very clever. Bruce, the third user, speaks up. He's with En. As much as he trusts Kudo as his former commander, he can't agree with this gamble. Throwing your power away during a fight seems foolish. And Kudo admits that this whole idea is really risky. It's a bet, but he's starting to believe that it's him and Bruce who have this wrong. They fought All For One at the height of his power. A dark time with almost no hope of winning. They had to be cruel at times, but this is a different era, a different wielder of One For All. Kudo wants to believe in Deku, the boy who hasn't given up on saving people. Deku's finding this hard to take. He flashes back to a memory of himself, the happy-go-lucky kid who felt blessed by all of this. Shimura Nana appears next to him to try and explain something to Deku. They've been together for a while now, and she's worked out what's gotten to him. Deku is hesitating, yes, but not for a selfish reason. One For All is a treasure. It was a gift to Deku from All Might, his favorite hero. It's only natural that he wants to protect and keep it safe. The idea of giving it up, letting the treasure that 8 generations of heroes built just fade away, has to be torture for Deku. Even if it leads to a great victory, even if it's his duty to save everyone by doing this, losing One For All will feel like failure. And he doesn't have long to try and work his feelings out. Shigaraki lunges at Deku, yelling at the One For All group to tell him what they're talking about. It looks like the group was just quiet enough to keep their plan secret for now. But the vestiges are out of time to make a decision. And so is Deku. Kudo asks Banjo to stay with the Ninth. They need someone to help keep him in the fight and to provide a quirk strong enough to keep him going. Kudo gives Yoichi his final goodbye. The first accepts it, calling Kudo my hero one last time. And you know things are serious when there is a title drop. Now that he's made peace with his fellow inheritors, Kudo calls to Deku, asking for his permission to begin the transfer. And he says yes. Deku agrees to give up One For All. No matter how much it hurts him personally, it is what the situation needs, and he will do it. In that moment, a massive wave of black whips rose out of nowhere, ripping Shigaraki's arm off. That's twice he's lost an arm in 2 chapters. The villain doesn't look bothered, grinning at his opponent. That whole trick Deku had with reinforcing his body with black whips boosting his muscles, that was just step 1. Deku's starting to look a lot more villainous. He's covered in black whips now, way more than he was when he was just reinforcing his arms with them. They run all over his body along with a bunch of tendrils emerging from his back, holding him up in the air. Deku is back to looking more like a vigilante, not an inspiring hero. His body is being puppeteered by Black Whip. Once again, we've got a new look where you cannot see Deku's mouth. We are back to a look where he cannot smile. Our boy looks like Spiral Garo from One Punch Man, or even like Symbiote Spider-Man with a bit of Doc Ock. Kind-hearted characters going feral is easily one of my favorite tropes. This power-up is interesting. One for All's total power stays with Deku. Before, it was divided between all its component quirks. That's what let Deku use them all at once. By giving up the individual quirks but not the power the user transferred with it, is this plan going to supercharge Deku's remaining power, boost his physical strength even more? It's like turning One for All from a club into a sword. Technically, it's smaller, but it is far more refined. I know a lot of you may be skeptical about Deku losing One for All, but I say we let Horikoshi cook. As always, I'm Sliceable Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.